Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we reveal our play activity and see if our friendship can survive it. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including Switch shortages and firmware 10.0.0. And then on Thursday, we're going to be continuing Retro Month with Star Fox. But in the meantime, Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I've got to tell you, not to give too much away, but I beat Star Fox, or a configuration of Star Fox.
Yes. Well, we will have to talk more about that, I'm sure, because I also beat Star Fox, at least one configuration of Star Fox. And I believe we should each at least beat it one more time.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to give away too much, but that doesn't make me happy.
Well, I'm just telling you what I plan to do. I plan to not be satisfied with a single path through the game.
No, I think that's fair.
Mark, how are you doing? How is your world right now?
Oh, it's fine. Can't complain. I'm doing okay. Again, don't want to give away too much, but I've been watching those Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals that he's been posting on YouTube recently.
Yeah, it's important to keep busy. Speaking of keeping busy, you can keep yourself busy by borrowing my copy of Sonic Forces, although someday, not right now. I'm not going to mail it out right now, but if you would like to get on a list to borrow my copy of Sonic Forces for the Nintendo Switch, you can. All you got to do is email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com and give us a mailing address that I can send it off to someday when I don't mind going into the post office. Also, I hope that post office survives. That would be great. Also, thank you so much to everyone who has friended us on the Nintendo Switch. It has been great and super fun to see people playing Animal Crossing and playing everything else as I'm on that machine. I saw, speaking of play activity, caught my play activity today, and it's like, I've played 80 hours of Animal Crossing.
Oh my gosh, I was so surprised. I've played 35 hours of, it says more than 35 hours of Animal Crossing. We'll get there.
We'll get there. Of
course.
We're giving so much away.
Of course, in April, it is Retro Month. We've been playing SNES Classics. And this Thursday, we are going to be talking about Star Fox. So if you have anything you want to say about Star Fox, get those observations in by Wednesday.
That's right. And you can email them to us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com. Or you can tweet at us at NinCartSociety. We will see it there. And I'd love, this is a game in particular that I feel like the greater variety of opinions we have on it, the better. So get that all in. Would love to know what your experiences were playing it initially, what your experience of playing it now, all of that. Okay, Mark, let's get into what we've been playing this week. So you and I actually got together digitally this weekend to play some games together.
Yeah, which is one of the, weirdly, one of the few times that this has happened where we've done it online. Mostly, I would go over to your place and we would play games for like a Saturday or something. Very rarely have we connected online to play.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think part of that is that we are a Nintendo show, and Nintendo is not super well known for its online features. But we were able to, I think, make use of some, at the very least, mostly competent Nintendo online games, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we checked out Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is classic Nintendo Online.
Mm-hmm.
It-
Well, I know that before we started up, you were like, "Man, I wish we could just play kart," and I was like, "Oh, we can." That there was like a moment where it's like we almost didn't believe that the Switch would be as like convenient and useful as we wanted it to be, but it was actually pretty easy to set up a lobby on my Switch. And that for you to join it. So Sarah and I were playing on my Switch. You were playing on yours at your house, and we raced against a bunch of computer opponents and just did like 8 random tracks and have a great time.
we also checked out each other's islands in Animal Crossing again. And I've got to say, your island looks awesome. Like, I left your island, I went back to mine, and I've paid like hundreds of thousands of bells so I can start moving like houses and like the museum around so I can like have some sense of organization to my island, hopefully someday.
Uh-huh. I mean, this weekend, or I believe it was Friday morning, I got KK Slider to play at my island, which serves as the like functional end of the game, even though obviously you want to keep playing. But like credits roll during the KK Slider concert. So I got that, and then immediately following the concert, Tom Nook is like, "Oh, here now, now you have like the construction clearances, so you can start laying paths, you can start digging cliff sides, and you can start making water." And as soon as I got that, like I would be willing to believe that I put in 10 hours this weekend, just like carving stuff out on my island, because it's slow and the tools are clumsy. Like it is really hard to do precision work in with all of that, but it is so much fun to finally be able to like reshape your island.
Well, we were talking about earlier, like our play histories. I was shocked to look at mine and saw that it was like over 35 hours in Animal Crossing. Because to compare, that's like equal to the amount of time that I put into Fire Emblem Three Houses, and that game took me months to complete.
Yeah.
And like I would have guessed that I had put maybe like comparatively in like if I thought about it logically, it's like, yeah, I guess 35 hours makes sense. But like comparatively to the amount of time I felt like I've put into Fire Emblem Three Houses versus the
Mhm.
amount of time I felt like I've put into Animal Crossing, it's like I would have guessed that Fire Emblem Three Houses took me like three times as much time. Like I am shocked at how much time has gone into Animal Crossing.
I'm a little shocked for me too. My number's way higher than yours. But I also know that there are times when I have been playing and then like something happens on my computer or like I start working for a little while and I just leave the game on and then just like pick it up half an hour later and like there's a bunch of idle time in that game that I know the clock has been running and I haven't actually been playing. So I'm sure some of that is in there too. But also, I've played the game a lot.
We have also this weekend when we were playing together online, we played some SNES online. Because you
Hmm.
can play two-player games in co-op online, and so we played Kirby's Dream Land 3, which is a game that neither you nor I had played, right?
That's right. It felt an awful lot like Star Allies to me, like Kirby Star Allies. Um, I was playing. Oh, I didn't look it up. Mark, did you look up the name of that creature that I was playing as?
Oh
The
no,
like,
no, the like you kind of like misshapen Dragon Quest slime looking character.
yeah, he definitely looked like an off-brand slime. Uh, it's like Goop or Gloop or something like that. Anyway, we played it and it's a Kirby game.
Yeah, I so whenever I go back and play older Kirby games, like the Kirby game that I have the most experience with on the SNES is Superstar. Like I played that with my siblings, with like my younger sister like so much. I love that game that I play other Kirby games like Kirby Dream Land 3 and I'm like, "Wow, this feels really limiting because Kirby Superstar 2 or Kirby Superstar has like all these different mini games you can play. It just feels like really dynamic. Like there are so many abilities that you can pick up in comparison. It's just like crazy. And then like playing I agree with you that playing Kirby Dream Land 3 felt like playing Star Ally, which is fine, but not, like the highest compliment I can pay something.
And I mean, I sort of liked Star Allies, so but yeah, I mean, if I had to choose between like, is there someone out there that's like Kirby Dream Land 3 is like my Kirby game? Like, is there someone like for whom this is the pinnacle of Kirby? Probably not.
I would think I would. Well, I mean, who knows? I guess maybe somebody. I saw you left a note here that you played some NES Switch Online as well, and that you can turn off the display on the top and bottom of the screen. I had no
Yes.
idea. I had no idea.
Yes. So I don't know when this became a feature of the thing, but it was something that I complained about when it was originally introduced. You know that thing at the bottom that says like you hold these buttons to like get the suspend screen. This button equals A. This button equals B. You can just go into the settings and turn it off.
The settings of like the like NES Switch Online, like when you're on the main select screen. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's over there by the like single player, 2-player online. And then there's like the little gear. And I think before it had just been the like, pixel perfect 4x3 or CRT filters. And now there's an option at the bottom that says like turn off display or whatever, something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I had no idea.
So I this afternoon played a little Dr. Mario like that and a little Ninja Gaiden like that. And it felt like actually playing those games without having an insane little pop-up thing at the bottom telling me that my buttons were buttons. And then I also I continue to play Murder by Numbers this week. I am getting like kind of hyped up for Picross right now because Picross 4 is coming out this week. And I also downloaded the demo for that. And I played through some of like the regular size puzzles. And one of the new features of this Picross is it's doing like giant size puzzles. So I did one in the demo that's 30 by 30.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was huge and it took me like 45 minutes and I loved it.
Can I tell you, so this is not what I've been playing, but a few weeks ago I played the demo for Disaster Report 4, and my takeaway was like, this is the weirdest game, like bizarre, janky, but in kind of an endearing way. I don't know if you follow Frank Cifaldi on Twitter or anything. So he's the former editor of Gamasutra. He is now the director of like the Video Game History Foundation. I follow him on Twitter. He picked up Disaster Report 4 and has been tweeting his impressions. And I wouldn't say he's having fun, but it is fun to learn more about like how crazy the game is. Apparently, there's like a part where you're like in this town and you're able to convince these people that this like water or whatever that you have is like a miracle cure-all. And so the mayor's willing to do anything and including like rename the game. So you can choose that option, and then next time you go to the start screen, the game has been like renamed to whatever he agreed to rename it. So it's just like stuff like that you're like, this game is insane and should not exist.
And yet it does. Speaking of things that should not exist, the character's name is Gooey in in Kirby. And yeah, what a monster. He's got too much tongue. All right, well, that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
All right, on Thursday, April 23rd, Picross S4 is released for Switch.
Very excited about this. It's a $10 game, so like absolutely. Take my money, give me some more Picross puzzles. I want to play them giant Picrosses. I kind of want to mess around with the color Picrosses and the mega Picrosses, and I have never been good at mega Picross. So like I'm very excited for this. I'm sorry that I'm going to try to talk about it on every episode, because it's always just going to be more pick cross, and there's not going to be anything new to report other than I'm having a wonderful time.
So have you for a while it was just inherent that when we were doing a what you've been playing, there was like the silent unspoken Tetris 99, and I'm curious if the current like stay at home time has made more time for Tetris 99, or if you're on like a kind of Tetris 99 sabbatical.
I would say that Animal Crossing
Is the new Tetris 99?
Is the new Tetris 99 for me. Yeah, I mean, it is my I've got some time. I've just got to like spin my mind for a little bit. That's Animal Crossing now. Whereas before it would have been Tetris 99, and then I would have just watched the day disappear. It's very much the same thing, but now I'm just chopping down trees and giving presents to my animal friends.
And then on Friday, April 24th, the Trials of Mana remake is released, which for whatever reason I thought this was not coming out so soon, but here it is.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it in like Nintendo Directs for kind of a while now, right?
Yeah, it was announced at
but
E3 at last E3 2019.
Oh yeah, that's right. And at the same time that the Mana collection was released, right?
Right.
On Switch. Yeah, I mean, so you have a little note here in our notes that the Trials of Mana remake is $50. Is it your assertion that is too much money for a remake of this game, or what? Why?
I think it is a interesting price, because we always joke about the like this, and by we I mean not us specifically, because I don't think we've ever made this joke, but the internet at large talks about like the Square Enix tax, and how Square Enix games are usually like like maybe not priced fairly. And so the Secret of Mana remake that came out last year, like at the beginning of last year, maybe for PlayStation 4, was not super well received. This game, instead of doing like a remake, it's basically just like a complete reimagining that kind of follows the same story. But I just feel like I don't, and they've said that they've taken the criticisms of the Secret of Mana remake and are like trying to use that feedback to improve Trials of Mana. I don't know. This one just feels really weird. I hope it was cheap to develop. I just can't imagine that there's much of a market for this.
So I believe that am I correct in this? Is the game that came out that was a remake of one of the Mana games before, that was the original Seiken Densetsu, right? The Game Boy one that was sold in the States as Final Fantasy Adventure.
Maybe there was one at some point, but I'm actually looking it up now. It was 2018, so it's been like more than 2 years. February 15th, 2018, PlayStation 4, there was a Secret of Mana remake.
How was I mean, I'm sure I was paying attention and that we talked about it in some capacity on this show. But yeah, that's crazy.
Well, it wasn't good by all accounts, which is why I think it kind of flew under the radar. Again, Trials of Mana is based on the third Seiken Densetsu game, which never came to the West until last E3 as part of the Seiken Densetsu collection, or what did they call it? The Mana something or another.
Yeah. I like Collection of Mana, I think.
Yeah, that's
right. Which I own.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was the first time that in the US and Europe you could play Trials of Mana. But for all intents and purposes, this is a new game to people. It would certainly be a new game to me. And from what I have read, the little bit that I've read in the previews and stuff, it seems like Square Enix is treating this kind of as just like a new game as far as they're concerned.
Kind of nuts that Square Enix is like, yeah, we're gonna put out a remake of Final Fantasy VII and a remake of Trials of Mana within 2 weeks of each other. It's just they're just firing all their bullets at one time. Okay, well, so are you interested in Trials of Mana? Is that like a game that you think you would want to pick up, or
I don't think so. I think if I was going to play one, it would be in the collection of mana and playing like the original SNES version. But like I'm interested to see the reception of this one.
I mean, for me, if I'm going to play a Secret of Mana game, I'm going to play Secret of Evermore. Thank you very much. All right, well, those are the new releases. Let's close that out. Now it's time for a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, you alluded to it already with the Andrew Lloyd Webber talk, but we're going to be talking about lockdown music, how we have been taking in music or how music has been put out that we have listened to during this like safer at home order. So what? Tell me a little about this Andrew Lloyd Webber thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So there's like a YouTube channel called The Plays Must Go On, and it's like by his company or whatever. And like for the past 3 weeks and potentially into the future, he has been releasing recordings of like one of his musicals every Friday and then having it available for 48 hours. So the first was the recording of Joseph the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat with Donny Osmond. The next week was
So wait, are these original cast recordings?
no, so they're like it like varies. Like the one
Okay.
the Joseph the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat seems to be like a production. It's like it's filmed a mix between like being like a stage version and it has like this framing device
sure.
with like
Okay,
a
yeah.
English school type thing. And so that one is specifically for that. The other ones that he has been releasing, or at least the middle two, which was Jesus Christ Superstar and Phantom of the Opera, are like Jesus Christ Superstar was like a like concert version that was filmed, and then the Phantom of the Opera was like the 20th or 30th anniversary celebration, filmed in front of like at the some I'm blanking on it. The
Sure.
Royal Albert Hall. And so next week is like Love Never Dies. So I grew up like
That sounds like the name of a James Bond movie.
you will not. We have to talk about this on another time.
Right.
It is a direct sequel to the Phantom of the Opera that takes place at
No.
Coney Island. Oh, Patrick, it gets worse.
No.
It's the premise of it is that Raoul is now like a drunk gambler who's out of money. So they have come to Coney Island because a mysterious benefactor is like, Christine, I'll give you a ton of money if you come and sing here. And guess who owns like this like Coney Island type place? It's Mr. X, wink wink, the Phantom.
Phantom Incorporated.
And
Yeah.
then 10 years ago, in a part you don't see in the play, or in the first one, apparently Christine and the Phantom had sex, and they have a secret son who they think
Baby Phantom.
who like Raoul and Christine think is Raoul's kid, but then they come and the Phantom's like, wait a second, 10 years ago. Oh wait, so maybe Christine always knew. Patrick, it is insane. I can't believe anybody thought it was a good idea. Anyways, that's the one he's showing on this coming week, which tells you
Amazing.
Which tells you that like he is quickly running out of ones that he can show, because other like of filmed like concert versions or whatever that he can show of these plays. I feel like it's only a matter of time before we get the like Masterpiece Theater Cats, or the whatever like the PBS like great performances thing is.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one. I would love to see whatever concert recording he has of Starlight Express.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, please. I am desperate. That is what I need right now.
Well, so that sounds awesome. When do they go up? Just over the weekend, or
I think they go up like in Pacific time. They go up like Friday at like 11 a.m. or something like that, and they're up for 48
okay,
hours.
cool. I will check in on it this week. Although I feel like I'm getting in on like the worst possible one to go in cold on.
I mean, you will laugh. You will, but it's some of it's tough to watch because it's real bad.
What is it called? Tomorrow Never Dies.
No,
What?
I wish. Love never dies.
Got it. Got it. Got it. I have been taking in a lot of videos of bands and artists that I liked in like high school and college that are like continuing to record music now. And it's never like new stuff. Like Rufus Wainwright is doing a song every morning at the piano in his robe, and like live streaming that. So I've been watching those because he's great and he's got a new album coming out. Uh, I've been watching the band Goldfinger. Every couple weeks they put out a recording of a song from each of their albums. So they've done one from Hang Ups, Here in Your Bedroom, and from their self-titled Superman. And it's just like them doing it now, like in their separate homes. So it's a song that they recorded when the lead singer was like 22, and now he's doing it and he's like 50, and it's just, I don't know, it's really nice to see like he's a damn man now, like a grown up. I guess we'll never know what I liked about that. We were accompanied today by an ensemble at the Musical Instrument Museum in Phoenix. All right, Mark, that was 433. Let's get into the news.
Hey, have you been looking for a Nintendo Switch? Because you've seen all your friends playing Animal Crossing and you want to get on the fun, or vice versa. Your friends have seen you posting all of your Animal Crossing interactions and really want to get in on that. You might have noticed that Switches are really hard to come by right now.
Oh yeah, they're like toilet paper and Lysol wipes.
Yeah, so like major retailers, if you look at like Target or Best Buy, they've had them in limited supply, and they'll have some go up on the website and then they're sold out. They're basically becoming like Ring Fit Adventure. So on the secondhand market, Switch lights are usually going for about $290. So the Coral one's like almost $400 for whatever reason.
I mean, just because there are fewer of them out in the world. And just as a reminder, these things, the retail price for them is supposed to be $200.
Yeah. And then regular Switches are going for like between 500 and 600. So again, sometimes double what the retail price is. And then if you want like bundles, or God help you, the Animal Crossing Special Edition. Like,
ooh, yeah. Or if you want that, the Sword and Shield, Pokemon Sword and Shield one, like Switch Lite, that thing's like $800 right
and
now.
it's so
like,
ugly.
It's the Wild West out there. It is ugly. Yes.
Yeah, so according to a report in Nikkei, Nintendo is planning to increase production of the system by 10% over last year's roughly 20 million units. A Nintendo rep said, quote, "We hope suppliers will be responsive to the production increase, but for procurement of some parts, the outlook remains uncertain, and we can't forecast exactly how many Switches can be supplied."
So to what do we think this can be attributed? Like, is this normal Nintendo shortages? Is it like COVID stuff? Like, what's going on here?
I think it's primarily COVID stuff. I think we're at the point in the for the most part, in most territories, in the Switch's life cycle, where initial production shortages have been worked out. I think we're seeing like a shortage of components being made, a shortage of components being able to be sourced, a shortage of laborers being able to like manufacture the systems. Like some of that stuff is beginning to ramp up again in countries like China, who have passed the peak of their COVID-19 lockdowns and are beginning to open up again. But yeah, I think there might be some supply tightness just around Animal Crossing. But I can't imagine that we'd be in this situation otherwise.
I think there is a fourth component here too. Like I do think COVID definitely, Nintendo yes, Animal Crossing sure, but then also that there is competition for the component parts with Microsoft and Sony, who are ramping up for their production of their new consoles coming out for holiday 2020. So I think it's a little bit of a perfect storm of just like they just can't make them fast enough, easy enough.
Yeah, I think that makes total sense. It will be interesting to see, like, when does, like supply catch up with demand in this situation?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and it's weird because outside of the like the initial run on Switches, and I guess kind of through the first year, right? Like it was tough even to get it, um, like right up until like Mario Odyssey came out. Like they started to be a little bit more plentiful at that point. But like that there hasn't really been a period since then where it's been hard to find Switches. I remember there being a couple different periods where you couldn't buy 3DSs on the first hand market, where like everything had to be bought secondhand. And it's just weird that that seems to happen to Nintendo.
Last week, the Switch got a pretty big firmware update, version 10.0.0, which I guess maybe I wasn't really like seeking out the information, but this was a big one. And I feel like it kind
Yeah.
of flew under the radar with everything else that's going on. So new features.
Well, Mark, do you know why it flew under the radar?
Hmm.
And I know I almost said Wadar, and that's funny. It almost flew under the radar because it popped on Tuesday morning, which means exactly after we record our show. So it came out a week ago, but we haven't talked about it until right now.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. That makes a ton of sense. So yeah, this version 10.0.0 adds some new features, including the ability to bookmark news stories to read later. Which okay.
You can bookmark up to 300 articles to read later.
The ability to move data between the system memory and an SD card. That's huge.
Huge.
Button remapping for both Joy-Con and Pro controllers. Again, this is huge because you can save up to 5 custom remappings.
Mm-hmm. And it only works with Joy-Con and the Pro controllers, at least for the time being. But I assume that they don't have plans to develop the button mapping beyond that. But I mean, it solves so many problems that people have with just video game accessibility in general, but also like there's that little bit of Nintendo weirdness where like everyone else when localizing games for the West has sort of adapted the right button is the confirm and the bottom button is like back up. And Nintendo's like, no, the bottom button is always going to be our accept button. And if you wanted to now, you could change that on your controllers. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I know that on the Dark Souls remastered, they did not flip it, or they took like the Sony mechanic, and so it's like when you're out so like if you like click the home button and like do something in the home menu, then it's the standard Nintendo controls. But as soon as you get back into Dark Souls Remastered, it's like reversed. It always took like a little bit of time to get used to that. Like you would hit the Dark Souls Remastered title screen and you would hit it would want you to hit X, but you would hit the A button.
That's what's very funny about this update is then that doesn't fix this problem.
I mean, I guess yeah, you're right. It doesn't. It would just make things more confusing. They added user settings to where you can control who can view your play activity, and you can now delete your play activity if you feel terrible about playing. I don't know. I was trying to think of a good example of a game you should feel shame for playing, but I couldn't think of one.
Or if you've got 390 hours in Tetris 99 and you don't want everyone to know that. So this is cool. It still feels like a little bit of a half measure. Because I still wish they would just tell you exactly how much time you've played on every, like, don't tell me about 30 hours. Don't tell me first played 11 days ago. Like, just say, like, played 35 hours and 16 minutes. Like, why can't you do that? The Wii did that. The Wii U did that. The 3DS does that. Why doesn't the Switch?
Yeah, it's interesting because there is clear, like you're saying, like they did it before, so there is clearly some reason why they chose not to do it, and I'm desperately curious to know what that is.
I mean, is it just part of like the general like Nintendo ethos of like hiding the numbers from you, or like trying to make it so you can't like see behind the curtain? Like if it's gussied up with like, oh, it's something presenting to you that you've played for about 35 hours, that you feel more connected to it, you feel less like you're seeing into the back end. Like, is that it?
I don't know. It's interesting because I feel like if that were the case, it's something they would have done previously, and then now they
Yeah.
would have be like, yeah, we're the like cool Nintendo with our Switch that everybody wants to play. So we'll just tell you how much time you've really been playing. I actually wonder if what it is. Is this the first system where like other people can see your play history?
Yeah. Yes.
So
I think so.
maybe it's like maybe the thought process is like around that somehow. I don't know what it would be, but it'd be like, oh, let's not like people don't need to know exactly how much time Patrick put into Tetris 99. Let's just say it was about 400 hours.
Which is just as embarrassing as 397 hours and 12 minutes. Like, I don't get what the difference is. But I mean, I guess like if you I mean, I don't know. There is like a little bit of like a privacy issue there if that's something you're concerned with. But now that Nintendo is giving you the ability to say like, no, only my friends or only my best friends or no one can see it, I wish they would also unlock the more precise measurements of that.
They also added some new user icons from Animal Crossing New Horizons. Some of them are pretty slick.
Yep. The like they've got the new characters in there, and or like the new sort of like, I was gonna say NPCs, but what do I mean? So CJ and Flick and Timmy and Tommy Nook are in there. Isabel in her island shirt, Tom Nook in his island shirt. And they're all great. I changed mine to CJ because he's cool and he has a fishing streaming channel and he's an otter. My gosh, I love him so much.
I love when you like bring him 3 fish or whatever, and so he gets really excited. Then he wants to take your picture. CJ taking my
Mhm.
picture is like all I ever want in life.
CJ's amazing. I love that he and Flick run a business together. Have you been following this?
No, I haven't run into that yet.
So both of them if you bring Flick 3 bugs, or if you bring CJ 3 fish, they make art out of that fish or that bug. And there are CJ reveals that the art is, whether he's giving it to you or Flick is giving it to you, is all made by Flick. And they're partners in this business, although it's also not clear if they're partners in a different way. So I know there's a lot of shippers around CJ and Flick, and I am 100% there for it. I wish them the best, happiest life where one of them is excited about fish and the other is excited about bugs, and it's just beautiful.
Oh,
They also have similar insignias. He has it on his hat, and they're both he. CJ has it on his hat, and Flick has it on like the back of his jacket.
I forgot to give my update on Huck, the horrible frog who lives on my island.
Sure, let's
sad,
hear you bad
yeah.
mouthing Huck some more.
Sad to report that he is still on my island, despite my many like attempts to report him to Isabel. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I've never talked to this dumb frog. I report him for the way he talks and the way he looks to Isabel. I am at the end of my rope with this frog. I just want him to leave my island. The end.
Okay, so have you tried gifting him garbage?
How do you get from like the nice fish
Yeah.
that you get from the sea? No, I haven't done that
Yeah.
yet.
Next time you get like an old boot or an old tire, give it to him. He will respond strangely. He'll be like, okay. and I think they get madder and madder at you.
This is good to know. Oh, okay. So going back to version 10.0.0, there is also a tantalizing rumor coming from data mining of the new firmware. Data miner Mike Heskins reports that the firmware makes numerous references to a new Switch hardware model known in the code as NXABCD.
So, admittedly, NXABCD sounds like a placeholder, right? Like that's not like an actual name of anything. However, the firmware is like referring to it as a separate, discrete piece of hardware.
And look, when we saw stuff like this, like a year ago or something, maybe even earlier than that, and there was a version that turned out to be the Switch Lite. There was speculation that the other one was the Switch Pro, but really just turned out to be like the version of the regular Switch with like better battery life.
Right. Well, and you always have to assume that whether or not an improved version of a console actually comes out, that these companies are always in R&D on these things, right? If they can put out a second version of a Switch that is powerful enough to market it as a separate thing, but not so expensive to manufacture that it doesn't make sense for them to do it, like they're gonna try to do that, right? So like even though we don't know of any plans and like nothing came out last year, that doesn't mean that rumors of Nintendo working on a pro version of the Switch that those rumors didn't have any validity to them.
Yeah, I think last year is instructive in both ways, where it's like, in the firmware we saw references to what turned out to be the Switch Lite, which was discrete new hardware, and then there were also references to this other thing that turned out to just kind of be like reconfiguring of the components inside the regular Switch. So who knows what this is going to be. We do know that Nintendo president Shigeru Furukawa said earlier this year that we should not expect a new version of the Switch in 2020. And I know that companies are not always forthcoming with this kind of stuff, but because Nintendo's a public company, if the president of Nintendo is like, no, this is not happening, he's not like, oh, we don't comment on rumors, or I don't know, we'll have to see what happens.
Sure.
It's a pretty good sign that it is not happening in 2020.
So we did skate over one of the interesting details about the new hardware version that's referred to in the code. There's some evidence there that the new hardware or the new hardware either includes or makes use of a secondary display. So that would be something perfect for emulating 3DS games or Wii U games that require that sort of like second screen. So like I wonder if it is less a new version of the Switch and more of like a peripheral that would go on the Switch and act as like a second screen. Which like I do think that there's a lot of like Nintendo's recent history that is going to be necessarily abandoned on older hardware. Wii U, DS, and 3DS. So many of those games require that second screen, and I think with the Switch, Nintendo has found this like new big audience that like wants to play and wants to buy stuff again. And like I think they are probably doing whatever they can to figure out how to bring games. And when we're seeing it, we are seeing like games like Brain Age come over. But like anything else they would want to bring over in the future, they have to figure out that part of it.
Well, the other thing I'll add to that is last year when the rumors about Switch, new Switch hardware really started to take off and like bigger outlets were reporting on it, there was talk about the Switch Lite. And then in at least the Wall Street Journal, there was reporting saying that like there was also a redesigned Switch that was unlike what anything, that we had seen from the Switch before.
Interesting.
Also, I really like your idea of this like peripheral that makes it a two-screen experience because like you're saying, there's so much that could be lost. Did Super Mario 3D World, it didn't really make a ton of use of the second screen, did it?
No, not it made actually very minimal use.
Gotcha. The reason I bring it up is because yesterday on BestBuy.com there was a listing for the Super Mario 3D World Switch Edition that
Mm,
got pulled. Which, listings get put up all the time, but let us not forget that Best Buy put up a Link's Awakening for Switch listing like a year before it
that's
was
right.
announced. And there's been all those rumors of for Super Mario Brothers 35th anniversary that this, as well as some other classic games and a new Paper Mario game, are coming. So anyways, I got like caught up in I caught up in a brief
Yep.
hype cycle all myself, being like, oh my gosh, yeah, it might maybe if Super Mario 3D World requires a lot of like second screen stuff, then they're going to release it this Christmas because they have to. It's the only thing that makes sense. But that's not true. I'm backing
It's
down.
not
I'm
true.
deflating the hype.
But there are obviously a ton of games that would benefit from having that second screen. If like man, the Zelda HD remakes of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, obviously totally playable without the second screen, but like, man, those and the 3D versions of Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time, having the menu just as an open screen on the bottom screen is so handy and so fast and takes out so many of the roadblocks for like making those games like fast and fun.
Or think about
Um,
like Pikmin 3, right? Like that's been a
yeah,
rumor for a long time that it's coming to Switch, because there's also the rumor. I mean, really, like Miyamoto just straight up said that Pikmin 4 is in the works. This was years ago. This was at like the end of the Wii U
right.
life cycle. Like he was like, yeah, Pikmin 4 is basically done. We've never heard anything about it since then.
Oh man, there are so many big Nintendo shoes that like just need to drop now. Like I feel like we're just on the edge of something happening, and maybe all of it gets pushed back due to COVID-19. But like, I feel like we're so close to like the next like big part of Nintendo.
This week in Famitsu, they had a big feature on HAL Laboratory to celebrate the studio's 40th anniversary. The developers, including lead action programmer Katsuyoshi Sumimoto, general director Shinya Kumazaki, and design director Ricky Furman, commented on the future of the Kirby franchise. Sumitomo said, quote, "I really want the next thing we create to be called the pinnacle of Kirby games. I'm positive the Kirby series can become even more fun."
These quotes are cute, so let's talk about them one at a time. um, but so the idea that the next Kirby game would be the pinnacle of Kirby, the Breath of the Wild of Kirby games. Um, do you think such a thing is even possible?
I am skeptical. I'll say that.
Hmm.
Kirby feels like it is. It's carved out a little niche for itself, and it does what it does
Hmm.
well. I don't know that it's really a series that needs a radical reinvention.
Yeah, or even one that like we would accept it, right? Like, I feel like with a Kirby game, I want to spend some time with it. I want to like mess around with some multiplayer. I want it to be cute, and then I want it to be done.
Furman said, quote, "For me personally, I'd really like to make a non-action Kirby spin-off game. We're going to have a wide variety of Kirby coming out in the future."
What does this mean to you? Non-action
Action
Kirby
Kirby
game?
spin-off game. Um, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like a Kirby fighting game or a Kirby sports sim. Like get another Dream Course in there or something like that.
Sure, sure. I mean, also a Kirby fighting game is very funny too.
Isn't that basically what Planet Roboblox was? I don't know. I didn't play that game.
No, I mean that was basically just like a regular Planet Robobot. Well, yeah, was basically a regular Kirby game, except sometimes he gets inside a giant robot suit.
And Kumamoto added, "Each entry in the series has its merits, but I want to make something that exceeds previous games."
Okay, so they're all talking a big game. They're all like, "Hey, the next Kirby game is gonna blow your socks off, and you're gonna love it more than anything." Um, but I anticipate spending a weekend with it and then moving on.
Hey, I mean, I'm super excited for Kirby to surprise me.
Sure.
Filed this one under duh. Gamescom 2020 has been canceled. Gamescom is the biggest gaming expo in the world with close to 400,000 attendees last year. And it's held in Cologne, Germany. And it's not happening this year. In its place, the organizers are already, quote, already working at full speed on digital Gamescom, the digital event they hope to hold sometime at the end of August.
Yeah, so unlike the ESA and the digital version of E3, this thing is actually happening. And I think if it's whether it's because Gamescom has had more time, like seeing the shape of what all of the shutdowns have looked like, or if just because they were more online anyway, they at least sound confident in their ability to pull off something in August.
Yeah, I wonder what how it'll line up with the game developers conference that is also moving
Oh yeah, I
online and
forgot
is
about
also
that.
going to be sometime in August. Um,
Well, and the Game Developers Conference, which was delayed from a couple weeks ago, delayed and taken online. Um, so yeah, I wonder. Like the Gamescom is not like all games conventions are like international shows just by nature of the business, but Gamescom feels more like holistically international, right? That just by virtue of being as big as it is. So I would kind of think that it takes precedence over something smaller like GDQ.
Star Wars Episode 1 Racer has a Switch release date of May 12th, which I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm very excited about it. They showed off some of what it looks like, and it's just nice to see the game like touched up a little bit. Here's something that we forget all the time as we request our N64 Classic editions: is a lot of those games don't look good, but they touch this thing up, and it actually looks still hilariously low poly, but it looks nice, looks sharp, looks bright.
Remember how last week we were super confused about Double Dragon 2 The Revenge coming out on the Switch eShop?
Yes, I do.
So the story sort of gets weirder. It turns out that it wasn't like the only individual game from the Double Dragon and Kunio-kun collection to get a release last week. It seems like all of the games from the collection that were originally localized in North America got released individually. So the reason you would buy the collection at this point, I guess probably the price point is cheaper to buy them in the collection, and then you also get the games that were never localized.
Yeah, so right now all of the games are $4.99 each if you're buying them separately. I don't know what the collection is, but the collection includes like 18 games that were never. It's either 13 or 18. It's one of those. I can see like the shape of the number in my head. But so the games that went up for individual release are the original Double Dragon, Double Dragon 2 The Revenge, Double Dragon 3, River City Ransom, Renegade, Crash and the Boys, and Super Dodgeball. It should be noted that Double Dragon, Double Dragon 2, River City Ransom, and Super Dodgeball are all available to play as part of your Switch Online payment of like $20 a year as part of the NES Switch Online. So it's a little bit weird that they're selling them for $5 a pop when you can play them for what is essentially free. But I don't know. There you have it.
Crash and the Boys would be a great band name.
Crash and the Boys is the name of one of the bands in Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
That's awesome. I remember not liking that movie, but I should maybe rewatch it at some point.
Mark, you're a damn fool. It's it's a delightful movie, and it's got so many like actors that were cool at the time and are like legendary now. Brie Larson's in there. Chris Evans is in there. I mean, come on. It's a proto Avengers.
On a previous episode, we also talked about the saga of Cooking Mama Cook Star.
Star.
And it looks like we're not done talking about it.
No.
So it now seems that publisher Planet Entertainment published the game without IP holder Office Create's consent. And now Office Create is planning to pursue legal action against Planet Entertainment.
Yes. So to quickly recap, this is a game that came out for all of like an hour and a half a couple weeks ago before it was pulled from the eShop. It still exists in physical stores. It is a new entry in the Cooking Mama franchise, but it runs poorly and is by all accounts a bad game. And no longer available to purchase digitally. And there was some mystery surrounding why exactly it was pulled. Some people saying that it was using crypto, or was using switches to mine for cryptocurrency, which turns out to not actually be true.
Representative for Planet Entertainment, which is the publisher, offered the following statement, quote, creative differences arose as Cooking Mama Cookstar was near completion that were outside the scope of our agreement and the game design approved by Office Create. The person giving the statement then went on to say that Planet Entertainment believed that they were within their rights to publish the game as they did.
So, Mark, what happened here?
I mean, it sounds like what we reported on the first time and reported on. All right, maybe talked about, regurgitated. What we talked about last time turned out to be true, where it's just like their Planet Entertainment or whoever the developer was. I think there's like a third party in here who like actually developed the game.
The developer is called First Playable.
Yeah, and they like, it seems like they ran out of money, or like they weren't given enough time or budget to polish the game. And then Planet Entertainment was like, we're just publishing this anyways, to recoup our investment. And then Office Create is like, wait, but we have the IP and you're like not treating our IP well, so you're not supposed to be publishing this. Just seems like a complete mess. And Cooking Mama is caught in the middle.
Poor Cooking Mama. Will the Cooking Mama ever recover?
If she does, we'll report on it here.
That's right. Report on
it. Here's another thing that we talked about previously. Sonic Team usually puts on a panel at South by Southwest, but the festival was canceled earlier this year. At the time, Sonic Team on their Twitter promised to share whatever information they were holding on to for the panel, but it turns out that they changed their minds. On April 15th, the official Sonic Team Twitter account posted the following: hi everyone. I don't want to misquote them. They didn't say hey. They said hi everyone.
They did say hi.
We know delays are way past not cool. But with the world in its current state and to keep our team safe, we need to wait to show you our South by Southwest content until things have settled. Thanks for your patience, and we'll let you know as soon as we have a date to share.
What is going on? What does that mean?
It's
not safe to share it?
I do puzzle over, we know delays are way past not cool.
Way past not cool, man.
I think that they had a game or something that was going to be released this year, and now they're like, oh, we don't know that that's actually going to be the case.
So, and I understand that. It's weird that they're saying that it's not safe for them to announce it.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the case. The case is that, conditions being as they are, your time frame is not what you expected it to be. That's different from it's not safe for us to tell you what we were going to tell you. That's different.
Wait. That's not what they're saying, though, right? They're saying that with the world in its current state and to keep our team safe, we need to wait to show you. Because I think my interpretation of this, and this is me just going out like based on no information other than this tweet. My interpretation of this is that they had a game, but that they were planning on like releasing this year, but because most people are under like stay-at-home orders, that development on the game is paused, and so they're saying like to keep our team safe by not like having them come into the office to work on this like Sonic game. That's my interpretation of it, but your interpretation is equally valid, in which case this is a dumb statement and I don't like it.
I'm just saying this is way past not cool.
How did we not use this for the cold open?
Oh, I don't know. You and I are so way past not cool.
Yeah. But yeah, it will be interesting to see what kind of like happens with this. I don't know. I was about to say, like, it's kind of disappointing that we won't know the story behind all of this stuff. It doesn't really matter, but I would be so curious
Yeah.
to see, like, a lot of what is going on behind the scenes and how this is actually shifting development schedules and priorities and, like, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally. Oh, there was something that I had read this week that I didn't include in the news lineup. That was about the Sega Ages series, and that Sonic 2 was recently released as part of Sega Ages, and that haven't been any plans for additional Sonic games to come out as part of that service, but that future games like Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles could be if Sega Ages does well. And I wonder if, like in general, like where developers and where publishers like Sega are going to put their effort going forward. Is it on putting out games that they know are favorites that like will sell and are tested and blah 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 blah, like you could do with Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, or to like keep developing and pushing out new stuff, like that could be part of what this is like, oh, is now a time to take the chances and be bold,
Mm-hmm.
or to put out something a little bit more safe, which is also kind of like what I feel like we're seeing from Nintendo with this Super Mario 3D collection rumor, that it's like that's something safe, right? That's something that's like guaranteed to sell. And I'm sure it's not without its development complications and difficulties, but like that's not striking out with something new. It is striking out with something safe.
But don't you think the if the Super Mario like collection rumors are true, that is almost just like fortuitous timing on Nintendo's part? Like,
Yes.
like it had to have been in the works for at least a few years. Again, assuming that it turns out to be a real thing. But I agree with I see what you're saying. Like
Yeah.
I think that the potential for something interesting to come out of this is definitely there.
Yeah.
Finally tonight, a little bit of sad news. Rick May, the voice actor who voiced Peppy in Star Fox 64, passed away last week due to coronavirus.
Yep. It's a voice of a character that I will talk about it obviously on Thursday, but Star Fox 64 was my Star Fox game. That was a game that I've played through probably literally hundreds of times. So that is a voice that is burned into my brain. That's the original do a barrel roll. So like, the guy has earned his place as part of video game voice acting royalty. All right, that's going to do it. Let's get out of the news. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts if you like this episode. You can share it wherever you share stuff. Also, remember, we are talking about Star Fox on Thursday. Star Fox. We're talking about Star Fox. I assume that you have some thoughts about it. The music, the way the animals talk, the animals themselves, the dozen or so polygons on the screen at any given time, the insanely small aspect ratio, a frame rate that dips into single digits. I want to hear everyone's impressions of this game. So please write into us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. and participate in the conversation with us. You can also follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at Nin Cart Society. You can check out our Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by Apipetty. You can get more of his music by going to apipetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers being way past not cool. And thanks for listening.
Hey, it's Mia.
Hey, it's Allie.
And we host the rom-com review podcast, P.S. I Love Rom-Coms.
Each week, we'll have incredible guests come and discuss a new rom-com
grand gestures, meet cutes, and of course, that elusive chemistry. Mia, what are you doing holding that giant boombox over your head? I'm hoping to win over listeners with this grand gesture. Take us back! Find a new episode every week. And subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Brought to you by Campfire Media. Wow, you're still holding that boombox.
Yeah, I've got great upper body strength. Thanks, CrossFit.
Yes, I love rom-coms. Campfire.